What's going on, guys? Chuck here with another awesome Blu-ray purchase. Today I have a new release from Arrow of a mid-70s, um, I'd say slasher cult classic maybe, and that is of course Alice, Sweet Alice, or as its original title was, known as Communion, or also known as was it Holy Terror? We'll get into that in a minute. So Alice, Sweet Alice is a film that I had never seen up until picking this up. But it's one I always hear about on, lists of slasher films, or, whenever, like, Bravo or whatever, do these 100, horror films they do every Halloween or whatever. Alice, Sweet Alice will always come up. And it's got some iconic imagery, I think. The yellow raincoat, the weird, I don't know, a baby doll, porcelain kind of mask, I don't know, whatever this weird mask is here. And of course, also known for having a very young Brooke Shields, like very early in her career. Brooke Shields, like right after, or actually no, I think actually like her first feature film. So yeah, very early on Brooke Shields, which will focus more on marketing later on, even though it's not a focus of the film. So what is Alice, Sweet Alice? Well, like I said, it's a slasher film. Dealing with a lot of Catholicism, well, Catholic belief, and you're dealing with a divorced mother with her two daughters. Was it Alice, obviously, and I remember the other names because I don't remember the other girl's name. Karen, I believe, which is the one played by Brooke Shields. If I have the cast here, yes, Karen. And Karen, they're getting ready for communion. So they're dealing with the church. And right away, Alice is. Sorry, I got something else. You can see that Alice is kind of a bratty child. She's kind of picking on her sister. She's just, not really kind of smart with her mother. She just got an attitude where it also comes across that, Karen, the, beloved daughter, more like Brooke Shields, that she's kind of almost like the favorite. I don't think she's a favorite, but that's how it's, you get that kind of portrayal of, nice, sweet, innocent Karen, and then, troubled Alice. And of course, Karen is led by, the priest who's going to be doing communion with over church. The mother dotes over. The mother is crazed. Sister hates Alice for whatever reason. Like I said, there's a broken home. The father is, like I said, remarried, so he's not around. But what ends up happening, we're just kind of cut to the chase here, is that eventually, or is getting ready for communion, that Karen is murdered in the church prior to it, and everyone, all the signs point to it being Alice, and hence the title Alice, Sweet Alice. But the question remains: is it really Alice, or is it somebody else? And there's kind of a mystery to solve here, kinda. A thing about Alice, Sweet Alice, or Communion, which I think Communion is a better title. It's I don't know how to describe this. It's an interesting film. I like, whether you're dealing a lot with the Catholic Church and the beliefs and the Catholic beliefs and stuff like that. But you're also dealing with, the damage from a girl who's, how they put in the trailer, she's, too old for dolls, but not quite old enough for boys. It's kind of the weird thing. She's in this middle. Basically, it's like a puberty kind of thing. So she's struggling, dealing with, the split of her parents. She's got, an aunt, a crazy aunt who just despises her, who's kind of off her rocker herself. And, again, she's got a bad attitude. I think she's dealing with the fact that everyone seems to love her sister, and dealing with just loving adore her sister. I don't know. It's kind of teen angst you're used to, but it's kind of played up at an extra higher level. It's, as a slasher film, it's interesting because it's not typically, you're not like, someone's not dying every couple minutes or whatnot. It's the kills are minimal, but they're interesting. I mean, the first 12 minutes, the first major kill is actually pretty intense. And it's just like, ooh, I can't believe we did that. And then later on, you've got some, the not really. You have like one really, I don't know. Well, you have one good kill. It's kind of, I don't actually take, but they're all good. They're not overly gory, but they're enough to like, ugh. I guess they're not over the top, but they're realistic in a sense where you just, you can kind of feel it, but at the same time they kind of look over the top without really being over the top, if that makes any sense. And like I said, it's kind of all signs point to Alice, but the question is it Alice, and what else is going on around here? Like I said, you and then this you have a kind of a subplot where the father comes back and he's trying to solve the mysteries, working with the priest and the police, trying to put the clues together to find out, was it really Alice? Because Alice, was she there when Karen, I didn't say, is killed? What is her involvement? What's going on? And there's also the kind of a little bit hint of a romance between the mother and father, and who are stranger, trying to get back together, even though he's remarried. So there's a little of that. There's other minor things, but that's kind of the gist of it. Like I said, it's hard to get too much. I don't want to give a lot away, because if you've never seen, like I hadn't, I didn't want anything spoiling or getting too much detail to spoil it. What I can tell you, it's a very, I don't say it's slow pace, but it has a good pacing. But you kind of, keep guessing. Now, one thing that kind of threw me was just a time frame, because, I wasn't sure. I mean, this is a film, like I said, it was 1976, right? Yeah, 76 was came out. But I'm looking at the film, and the setting does not appear to be 1970s. It feels more like 1960s. But there's no explanation of that, unless you watch the Holy Terror version, because apparently they put a title card explaining that it is like 1961. But I'll get into all that in a minute too. So I'm really kind of all over the place, and I do apologize. Is the movie good? Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think it's an interesting slasher film, but not your run-of-the-mill typical slasher film. There's a little more to this. And keep in mind, this was a director's first feature film that he mentioned, coming off of doing an adult film. So he's kind of learning on the fly, and is working with, he mentions in an interview, working with a cinematographer who basically didn't want to listen to him and just knew everything, and there were a lot of butting heads. Which, on that note, this one of the things that's kind of struck me funny watching this movie, there are a lot of extreme close-ups, and I don't want to say breaking the fourth wall, but a lot of the actors are looking directly at the camera, like talking to you, and they're again extreme close-up on some of these, and when they're talking to another person with the camera looking directly in the camera. It's an interesting, unsettling kind of choice. And also, on that note, then you have the over the top, over exaggerated acting of the mother, whose name I cannot remember at this point, Linda Miller, and the lady who plays her sister, who is like this off the wall. She's just wholly hysterical. It's just way too much. I mean, there's a lot of scenery chewing here in these hysterics, and a lot of screaming and going back and forth of, why won't you talk to me? What's wrong with me? Why are you doing that? She's crazy. All this, just a lot of that screaming stuff. It's like, whoa, tone it down, take it down a little bit. You guys are going way too much. Bring it down. So yeah, that's kind of a weird choice, I guess, and in terms of filming and then acting. I mean, here, I know it was like a second time around, but and not everyone here was like real well-known actors. I mean, there were a lot of them were, I think, getting their start, but then you may want to tone us down a little bit, and that seems so hysterical. But there apparently there was a lot of weird or troubled set, but there was some incidents on the set, like the director mentioned with Linda Miller, who played the mother, where she came in like the last day of shooting and on the church set, and for whatever reason just slit her wrist right there. And it's just kind of, whoa. When he told that story in an interview, I'm like, well, that's out. And they said, yeah, I did that. He stopped, and she went home shooting. That was for the day. That was it. It didn't really say why or she was going through any trouble, but apparently she was having some kind of issues. He did mention she was like the daughter of Jackie Gleason, and I think she was going through divorce or something, whatever. She was having some issues, but she just came on set and I'm like, wow, that's a hell of a story. um, but again, I do apologize. There's not really much I can give on this. I don't want to give too much away. But you have some interesting characters also. Like, for instance, you have the really weird, disgusting character. What is his name? Like Anton. He's like the landlord of this apartment building. Maybe Mr. Alfonso, I think is what it is. He's a really heavy set, slovenly character. He looks disgusting. He's got really an undershirts always look dirty. He's got pants on that have stains on his crotch, which is gross. He's bald. He kind of looks like a cross between. It's like, especially with his voice, he has some really weird acting choices, delivery lines too, delivery line wise, line delivery wise. That's what I'm trying to say. But he has a kind of cross between if you took Divine and crossed him with Harvey Firestein and put them together, and it's kind of what you get. It's kind of a weird amalgamation of that, and it's disturbing and creepy, but he does it well. Apparently, he was not a real life. He was kind of a grifter that the director found on the street and was impressed with what he did and decided he was going to put him in a movie somewhere, and here you go. But yeah, that's what is his name? Actually, Alfonso de Noble, I believe is his name. So there you go. But yeah, it was really just, and then he's also surrounded by cats. He's just a weird, creepy guy. That's all I can really say. So, but again, Alice, Sweet Alice is not your typical slasher film, but it's an interesting one. I think it's one you should definitely check out if you haven't already. Because I'd always heard about it, I'd never seen it. Arrow put out this 4K release of it, and I was like, okay, this is my chance to pick it up and check it out and add it to the collection. And I'm glad I did. And they put out a really nice edition here. So here it is. It's a slipcover for Alice, Sweet Alice. And I can't remember. I think there might have been an alternate, like store only, or maybe this was store only, but I think there was an alternate slipcover. There's the back. And then here is the case. Again, back with all your features. We've got our typical Arrow ad with, to stream it. Now, when I opened this up, I got a little upset because it came with a booklet and it's kind of smushed because it's like, well, it's kind of crunched in there. I'm like, well, yeah, that's too bad. Why did they do that? Then I realized I got 2 books. Why they were crunched in there. It was too tight. I don't know what happened. I don't believe there was a poster that's supposed to go with this. And I got a book instead. I have to do a double check on that. But I did get 2 booklets. One is in pristine condition. One's a little crooked. And it's interesting. They actually have a dedicated to Alfred Soul, who was the director. Must have just passed away because he had the recent interview on here. So, yeah, I got double books. Again, I got to really check if there was supposed to be a poster. Probably not, but you never know. Of course, the reverse artwork is the same as the slipcover. And you only have the 1 disc, which is the 4K. All your special features are on it. So that's nice. There's no Blu-ray on this edition. Nope, make sure I get that in there right. Okay. And as far as special features, let's take a look at what we got on here. Well, before we get into that, let me talk about the film itself. Image-wise, looked really good, especially on those close-ups talked about it, because there are a lot of these close-ups. But they really get a lot of attention and detail on the faces, and almost too much. This film was also there's a lot of rain in this movie. There's a lot of scenes in just pouring rain, so you don't really have a bright palette. But occasions when there's not getting a lot of rain, you do get a lot of grain and detail and it looks really good. It's just a 2.0 surround sound, which has a nice mix. It's not too overpowering, but it does its job. So it looks and sounds pretty good. I mean, I had no problems with it. Everything sounded clear. Now, special feature wise, you have a brand new 4K restoration by Arrow Films from the original camera negative, 4K Ultra HD presentation and Dolby Vision HDR10 compatible, of 3 versions via seamless branching. You have Communion, which is the original, Alice, Sweet Alice, the theatrical version, and Holy Terror, which is the re-release. You have original lossless mono audio, English subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing. You have the audio commentary with Richard Harlan Smith, an archival audio commentary with co-writer director Alfred Soul and editor Edward Saylor. First Communion, Alfred Soul remembers Alice Sweet Alice, and I did watch this. This is about a 17, 18-minute interview, which is very enlightening. Again, he tells his beginnings, getting into how he started to want to get a film and direct, directing a small porn film that actually did pretty good and actually got him a lot of trouble in New Jersey, I think it was, but helped him get to write and make Alice Sweet Alice. Let's see. Alice on My Mind, a brand new interview with composer Stephen Lawrence, which is interesting. He's basically kind of plays a couple pieces, talks about his thoughts on music, what he wanted to do, and the music definitely has a very haunting melody. Again, with the whole idea of it being dealing a lot with the Catholic Church, and it really has that kind of feel where it feels very heavy, but it has that kind of almost religious undertone to it. So it's an interesting score. In the Name of the Father, a brand new interview with actor Niles McMaster, who played the father in the movie, and that's done via Skype. Sweet Memories, Dante Tomaselli on Alice Sweet Alice. Filmmaker Dante Tomaselli, cousin of Alfred Soul, discusses his longtime connection to the film. I had not seen that one. I missed that one. Lost Childhood, the locations of Alice Sweet Alice, which is a tour of the original Alice Sweet Alice shooting locations, hosted by author Michael Gingold. You have deleted scenes, a split screen version comparison. Now, I thought this was interesting because they mentioned when you first put the movie in, they'll ask you to play it. They'll ask you which version do you want, and it'll tell you, because you can play with all 3 title cards: Communion, Alice Sweet Alice, Holy Terror. It would also tell you that Communion includes uncut gore scenes, more blood, that was tamed and edited in the other re-releases. So you have that option. And also, of course, the main difference besides those titles is because they'll put them all together on the same screen, all 3 playing at once. And the big change is that Holy Terror is come out after Brooke Shields has become a well-known star, if you will. I think it's after Pretty Baby. So they emphasize Brooke Shields big time. Her name was first on the credits. It's like Brooke Shields, Holy Terror. The credits all rearranged differently. Whereas on the other 2 versions, Brooke Shields' name comes like 12th, 13th of the credits because she is not that major factor in the movie, as the marketing for Holy Terror will tell you or make you or lead you to believe that she is. She's only in the film for the first 12 minutes of the movie. After that, there's no more Brooke Shields. That is it. So if you're coming in this thinking you're going to see Brooke Shields in her very first horror film, and that they imply like she is Alice and she is a killer or something like that, don't believe it, because she's not. And like I said, after the first 12 minutes of the movie, Brooke Shields is done. She's gone. So that's really, it's smart marketing on the part of whoever, did that second re-release under Holy Terror, to fool you into thinking it wasn't it wasn't the movie you've seen before, it's a whole different movie. Yeah, I kind of miss the days when they did, distributors did stuff like that to try and fool. Every year we'll bring out the same film, we'll give it a different title, they'll never know it was, the same movie because the audience are stupid. That's what they're thinking. But again, it's smart to try and, you have this star or actress who is a big star or becoming a big star. Why don't we try and make a few extra bucks and, by capitalizing on that? And, that's what they did. But it's a very egregious lie. Like I said, she's top billed in that Holy Terror cut, but she's only in the first 12 minutes. So yeah, so that was really interesting, and I liked that, before you play the movie, they actually gave you those options. It told you kind of what was the only thing that was really different. Um, let's see, of course, trailer and TV spot, image gallery, including the original screenplay, reversible sleeve featuring original newly commissioned artwork by Giles Rankix, and illustrated collector's booklet featuring new writing on a film by Michael Blythe. So there's a lot of stuff on here. This is a really good edition, a nice 4K. Like I said, looking sounds good. There's some really good extras on here. If you've never seen Alice Sweet Alice, it's definitely a good way to check it out. It was for me. I'm glad I did. And if you have Alice Sweet Alice, if this is a good chance to upgrade it. And again, it's cool because you get all three versions of the film. Communion, Alice Sweet Alice, and Holy Terror. Granted, they're all pretty much the same thing. It's really credits and a couple extra blood shots that are different. But that again it's cool that you have that option. I think it's really neat that Arrow gave you that option. But yeah, and again, it's not your typical slasher film. It's something a little more that tries to have a little more substance, a little more depth. Than just again, this is early on. It's 76. We're still in the infancy of getting into what the slash genre will become. But it's just a nice proto slasher, if you will. But I'd check it out. So that is it for this one. If you enjoyed it, just click thumbs up, share, subscribe, leave me a comment below. Let me know if you've seen Communion or Alice We Alice or Holy Terror. What do you remember? Because I do remember seeing, I think, this in the video stores under Alice We Alice. I'm pretty sure. Again, the yellow raincoat, that mask, they're pretty iconic. And there's that title, Alice We Alice. That's the one you think of more than anything else. So. I do remember being out there. Or just say hi. I'll always say hi. So until next time, this is Chuck saying I will see you on the other side.